Welcome to a second Control-C setup video. This is in August 2023. This is stereo monitoring, setting up Dadman and the S6 for stereo monitoring in Control-C. First thing we do is got to get a couple items in the login items so that these automatically boot in your computer, in your profile. Go up to System Settings, and hopefully the computer will let you do this. If they're not, I'm going to show you an optional way to do this. But search for login items, and you can see it there. We'll click on it. Basically, you can see if I've already set this up. I've set these two apps, Dadman and WS Control app, to open at login for my user. If you need to do this, and you do need to do this, hit the plus button, and then go to the Applications folder, and find these two items. One, of course, starts with D, Dadman. You're going to add that, open. And the other one is going to be WS Control app. So I just click W, there it is, and I would add that as well. So they're both there and they would auto launch. Other things I would do kind of related to this, I'm going to open up any folder here on the computer, and I'm going to go to the Applications folder. And I highly recommend you find these two items, Dadman, and drag it down to the dock so it's in the dock. And the same thing with WS Control app. Dadman lets you control the audio interface, and WS Control app allows the S6 to talk to the computer. So I would bring these both down here. There will be times to use them. Once you've got them down there, we're going to start with WS Control app. You can double click to boot it up, but it will, or you can restart the computer and log in, and it will show up here. Here's WS Control app when it's booted, and it's going to hopefully see the if you see the system desk ID, you will know that it's seeing the S6. But you're going to want to make sure these auto launch. Another way to make them auto launch is here, auto launch apps. Make sure you click WS Control app so it automatically launches, and the MTRX, which is Dadman, make sure it automatically launches. Okay, now that you've done that, we're going to visit Dadman and kind of get Dadman set up. So I'm going to boot Dadman. It's got the big D there. And let me kind of tell you what Dadman is all about. In our control room here in Control-C, and feel free to show the whole space here, we've got two completely different monitoring systems. We have a stereo monitoring system, which consists of the big Gentle X, the NS10s, and the little Oratone in the corner. And we also have a 7.1.4 immersive system. So this video is just about stereo. And when we do stereo, well, we use this bugger, the Central Station Remote, as our control surface. When we do immersive, we're going to use the S6 to control that 7.1.4. This video is not about immersive. This video is about stereo. So we want to get audio to this. And we'll come back to that in a minute. With Dadman, this is the software here that controls the matrix audio interface. And I hate to make you spin back around, but this is the matrix. And it's really expensive and really complicated. And thus the software Dadman, and can go back to the screen now, sorry for this jumping around video. This is the software that configures it. Now I've already made some files for you so you don't have to do the hard work. And what the files you need are currently living on the computer. And I put them, let me close these things that are popping up here. In the Studio C drive, I've put a folder here called Dadman Files, and in it are is a folder of immersive presets. I'm not going to name it Atmos, I'm going to name it Immersive. And those are ones you're going to use when you do 7.1.4 and Atmos. And there's two sets of those. There's ones for where the speakers are located in the room. We'll talk about that in the other video. But for today, you can see there's two stereo files. Now, this whole entire Dadman Files folder might get corrupted by another student. A student might load these files and mess with them. And if you don't want that, you can always load. I have put a zipped version of this whole folder on Canvas in the hybrid course. So you can always download your own fresh set of these if you have problems. Anyway, we open up Dadman, and here's Dadman. Since this video is about stereo, you have to load two different files to make stereo work. Go File, Open, and go to that Dadman's folder, which of course, as I mentioned a moment ago, is in the Studio C drive, Dadman Files. And I'm going to open the stereo folder. Oops, I kind of messed up there. It's a little weird how it did that. Open stereo configuration. It was not going to let you load this other one here because it's grayed out. Only this one file is loadable. You're going to load this up. This configures the interface for stereo. And there's one other part you have to do. Go File, Open Profile. And that other one that was grayed out a moment ago is now you can select it, Stereo Profile. Double click that, open that up. Now DadMan is all ready for stereo and the S6 is disabled. So over here, I think we're going over here, Will, now. As I mentioned, we need to make this work. Side note, looking at the patch bay for a moment, there are no patch cables in order to make this work. When we're doing stereo, you can start fresh with no patch cables. A large number of patch cables is required when you're doing immersive and Atmos, but not at the moment. And basically what's happening is outputs 1 and 2 from Matrix, the Matrix I/O, over here under the central station inputs, they normal to central station TRS input number 1. And on the central station, that's that guy right there. So Pro Tools is going to normal to this guy 1 and 2. If you click this button, the max digital outputs come into the central station. And this other guy, aux, is something you can patch whatever you want into it. And that shows up over here, central station TRS2. So at this point, this thing's pretty self-explanatory. Pick your speakers, big Genelecs, NS10s, little Auratone, C, but make sure you hit mono because the Auratone is only single speakers, so you want to combine those 2 speakers together. So at this point, it's just turn it up. Now, I don't have Pro Tools running, so the demo's not going to include that, but select Pro Tools, select speaker A, turn it up, and you should be ready to go. There are 2 more side things to note. Do note that DadMan is internally configured for 48 kilohertz, and your sessions need to be at 48K or it won't work, or there is a way to change your sample rate here. But all the assignments are already set to 48K, so you won't have a problem with that. The other thing to notice, and I can just show you this really quickly, is whenever you log out your user at the end of your work session, it's going to ask you, hey, do you want to save changes you did to the DadMan? And don't save your changes, because if you do tweak with DadMan, if you do tweak it and mess it with it, you're going to change those files that everybody else is using. So just hit don't save, and it probably will ask you twice. It didn't that time. But that's it. That's your stereo video setup. Have fun.